Some acts of faith do not look dramatic at first. Sometimes they look like a mother trying to keep her baby quiet. Sometimes they look like a pair of hands weaving a small basket. Sometimes they look like tears falling into a river while you release the one thing you love most into the hands of God. Before Moses ever stood before Pharaoh, before the Red Sea opened, before the tablets of stone, there was a woman named Jochebed. Her name is mentioned only briefly in scripture, but the decision she made changed the course of an entire nation. This is the story of Jochebed, the mother who let her son go to save him. Jochebed lived in Egypt during a dark season for the children of Israel. The descendants of Jacob had multiplied greatly in the land. What began as a family welcome during Joseph's lifetime had become a people Pharaoh feared. Pharaoh did not see the Hebrews as neighbors. He saw them as a threat. First, he tried to wear them down with hard labor, but the more they were afflicted, the more they multiplied. Then he commanded the Hebrew midwives to kill the baby boys at birth. The midwives feared God and would not do it. And when that plan failed, Pharaoh gave an even more terrible command. Exodus chapter 1 says that he charged all his people, "Every son that is born ye shall cast into the river." The river that gave Egypt life had become a place of fear for Hebrew mothers. For the Hebrew families, Pharaoh's decree was not an abstract law written somewhere far away. It entered their homes. It touched every pregnancy, every birth, every family gathering. Mothers who should have been preparing for joy were forced to prepare for danger. Fathers who should have been celebrating their sons were forced to wonder how they could protect them. The people of God were living under a power they could not defeat by strength alone. It was in that atmosphere that Jochebed gave birth to a son. Later, Exodus chapter 6 and Numbers chapter 26 identify her as Jochebed, the wife of Amram and the mother of Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. But when Exodus chapter 2 first tells the story, it simply calls her a daughter of Levi. The Bible draws us into her moment before it even gives us her name. Exodus chapter 2 says, "And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. For 3 months Jochebed and Amram did what they could to protect their baby." Imagine the vigilance of those days. Every cry could bring danger. Every knock at the door could bring fear. Every morning meant facing the same impossible question: how much longer can we keep him safe? Their faith did not remove the practical work in front of them. It made them faithful in it. They still had to listen, watch, plan, and make difficult decisions. That is often how faith works. It does not ask us to ignore reality. It gives us courage to face reality without surrendering to despair. The book of Hebrews looks back on that decision and gives us the word beneath their courage. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 23 says, "By faith Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment." That verse does not say they were never afraid. It says they did not allow the king's command to rule their obedience. Faith was not the absence of danger. Faith was choosing to trust God in the middle of danger. But the day came when Jochebed could no longer hide him. This is where her story becomes even more powerful. She did not simply surrender to fear. Exodus chapter 2 tells us that she took for him an ark of bulrushes. She covered it with slime and pitch to keep water out. She placed the child inside it and laid it among the flags by the river's brink. Notice the care in that act. Jochebed prepared the ark. She made it as safe as her hands knew how to make it. She chose its place among the reeds. She did not throw Moses into the river. She placed him where she hoped he might be found. Her faith was not careless. It was thoughtful, trembling, practical faith. And then she had to step back. For Jochebed, this was not a small sacrifice dressed up as a spiritual lesson. Moses was her baby. The basket was real. The river was real. Pharaoh's power was real. She could not see a guarantee written across the water. She had only the conviction that the God who had given this child life was able to watch over him when she could not. Moses' sister Miriam stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Scripture does not describe every word Jochebed prayed as she watched the basket disappear into the reeds. It does not tell us every tear she shed, but it tells us enough. A mother had done all she could do, and now the future of her child was beyond her reach. There are moments in life when we want God to tell us every detail before we obey. We want to know exactly where the river will lead, who will find the basket, and how the story will end. Jochebed did not have those answers. She only had the next faithful step. Then God began to move in a way no one could have arranged. Pharaoh's daughter came down to the river. Her maidens walked nearby. She saw the ark among the flags and sent one of her servants to fetch it. When she opened it, there was the baby crying. In Exodus chapter 2 gives us a sentence that changes everything. She had compassion on him. Pharaoh had commanded that Hebrew baby boys be cast into the river. But Pharaoh's own daughter looked at this Hebrew child and felt compassion. The palace that represented danger became the very place God would use for protection. She recognized that he was one of the Hebrews' children, yet mercy rose in her heart. Then Miriam stepped forward. This is one of the quietest and wisest moments in the story. She asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee?" Pharaoh's daughter said, "Go," and Miriam ran to call the child's mother. Can you imagine Jochebed hearing that call? The child she had placed in the river had been found. Not only had he been spared, but Pharaoh's daughter gave Jochebed a command she could scarcely have imagined. "Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages." The mother who had hidden her son in fear was now being paid by the royal household to care for him. For a while, the same arms that had placed Moses in the ark were able to hold him again. Jochebed could feed him, comfort him, and watch him grow. She could look at his face without hiding him in the shadows. What had begun with a desperate act beside the river became a season of provision she never could have planned. It is worth pausing there. God did not merely rescue Moses from danger. He made a way for his mother to care for him during his earliest years. The very household connected to Pharaoh's command became the source of her provision. God did not erase the hardship of the moment, but he showed Jochebed that he was not absent from it. This was not luck. This was not a lucky turn in a cruel story. It was providence. God had made a way where Jochebed could not see one. Jochebed took Moses home again and nursed him. For a season, she had her son back in her arms. The Bible does not tell us how many years passed before Moses was returned to Pharaoh's daughter. It simply says, "And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son." That sentence carries both joy and sorrow. Jochebed was given time, but not permanent control. She was allowed to nurture the child she loved, but eventually she had to bring him to the palace. There is a particular kind of faith required when God gives you something precious and you know it was never yours to control forever. Jochebed loved Moses. She protected him. She cared for him, but she could not write every chapter of his life. She could not see the burning bush. She could not see the plagues that would shake Egypt. She could not see Moses standing before Pharaoh years later saying, "Let my people go." She could not see the Red Sea divide, but God could. Jochebed's obedience was part of a rescue far bigger than her own home. The baby in the basket would become the deliverer God used to lead Israel out of bondage. And yet, Jochebed did not know all of that. When she sealed the little ark with pitch, she obeyed without knowing the whole story. That is why her faith still speaks to us. Sometimes God asks us to care deeply about something we cannot fully keep: a dream, a child, a calling, a season of life, a prayer that has not yet been answered. We can prepare wisely. We can protect what is in our hands. We can do the next right thing. But there comes a point when faith asks us to release the outcome to God. Releasing is not the same as giving up. Jochebed did not give up on Moses. She trusted God with Moses when her own strength and ability could no longer protect him. She did what she could do, and then she placed him in the hands of the one who could do what she could not. Maybe that is a word someone needs today. You have been trying to hold together something that only God can carry. You have been standing watch beside the river, wondering whether God sees the thing you had to place beyond your control. He sees. The God who saw a small ark among the reeds still sees what is hidden, fragile, and precious to you. He is not limited by the river in front of you. He is not intimidated by the palace that seems to hold all the power. He can place compassion in unexpected hearts. He can open doors through places that once looked like danger. He can provide a way that you could never have designed for yourself. Jochebed did not receive a full explanation. She received enough grace for the next step. And sometimes that is how God leads us too. Not with every answer at once, but with the courage to hide the child for one more day, the wisdom to prepare the ark, the strength to release what we cannot control, and the faith to believe that God is already at work beyond the reeds. Faith may look quiet to the world. It may look like a mother who keeps praying, a person who keeps doing what is right when no one is applauding, a believer who refuses to let fear make every decision. But heaven sees the courage inside those quiet choices. Hebrews remembers Moses' parents among the people of faith because they trusted God when obedience came with risk. Jochebed's story reminds us that a quiet act of obedience can carry consequences far beyond what we see. Her name may occupy only a few lines in scripture, but her faith helped preserve the life of Moses. And through Moses, God would bring deliverance to his people. So if you are facing a river you did not choose, do not assume your story has ended. Do the next faithful thing. Trust God with what you cannot hold. And remember the mother who let her son go, not because she stopped loving him, because she trusted God's care more than her own hands. This story encouraged you. Share in the comments. What is one thing you are learning to place in God's hands? And if you would like more powerful Bible stories brought to life, subscribe to Bible Stories in Black.